All right, let's talk about Ace in OP04. The biggest question is he viable in OP04? And we'll talk about that and some of the new matchups. So the question on everyone's mind, with the restriction list confirmed to remain the same, we will only get one Marco, one Newgate, and Radical Beam still doesn't matter for us, but free my boy Marco. Comment free Marco if you agree. So first thing is, this format is slower than before, with decks like Queen and Rebecca going to turn infinity, and we need to be aware of decks that are now contenders. First, we have Croc. Blue, they have Red Rock and 3,000 Worlds, which bottom decks Marco and your blockers. Going into this matchup, I try to play my leader as much as possible and focus on controlling their board and then using Ace as needed. Your little drops can also put in work here, since they probably won't pay for Dawn to bottom deck those. But we don't want to waste Dawn for cards to be removed, that when it could just be a connect swing. So instead of playing 5 for Marco that's just going to be bottomed, I could swing 10. And this matchup is winnable. It definitely depends on draws, because we do want those removal cards, want to try to get as much value and prevent them, because otherwise they only have 1 attack, and we have Flame Emperor, which lets us hit them for 2, and then also unblockable Luffy, when blue is known for their blockers. And then we have Katakuri. They get the biggest boost this set. They get a Thatch and a 5/7 searchable, the rabbit guy, along with blocker Sanjis that have trigger, making this the most anticipated deck of the format, getting to play cards for essentially free, and it remains our worst matchup, unfortunately. You really just have to hope for no life triggers and unblockable Luffy if the time comes. Flame Emperor still puts in work on this match as well. It's very Katakuri favored. I beat Katakuri yesterday, but I got super lucky. It really just depends. Because you do just need to control that board, because otherwise they're just doing a bunch of giant swings while also gaining life, and it hurts. And then we have Queen. They play blockers and big drops. Very simple, very slow, very basic. Keep them away from 1 life for the value of Yamato, but do giant swings. You want to keep their life low while keeping their hand large, so that way they're forced to play out as many cards as possible to make their hands smaller, and it gives you a better idea of what they have. It's definitely a winnable matchup. I would say it's slightly Queen favored, but Flame Emperor is going to put in a ton of work on this matchup. And then also Fire Fist, because you can crossfire and then Fire Fist away some things. Huge, but we do want to just keep those, because once they start establishing those 9s and swinging at us, because our blockers pretty much do nothing, because they can get rid of those if they want. And then Marco is pretty much worthless in the matchup. Rebecca, in my opinion, it is super favored to us, because their only game ender is Luffy, and we can Flame Emperor him and give him little value by not having a board. So then whenever they play Luffy, I pretty much try to go first too. Like, they want to go second, they'll get the card, but if they go first, they're going to get the card regardless. I like to go first, put that first swing on. I usually go 8. They either give me 2/2Ks if they want to keep searching, or they're going to take it. I might do 7 in case I have a 1 drop, but I'll always try to do that 8, just that way if they don't have 2/2Ks, they have to give up 3 cards. Because the way you think about it is, they're going to go to their turn, and you want to do just giant swings, because they can just counter out of it, and they're going to, if they're at 6 or less, they're going to Rebecca, add a card, and they're going to draw 1 for turn, so they're just going to replenish the 2. So you want to try to keep them from like gaining value by stuffing their hand, and once it starts getting bigger, because then again it's just going to force them to play little drops that they might not want to, or they're just going to be delayed, because you don't want them to get the Luffy, and if they don't have the Coliseum, you definitely don't want to get them to the Coliseum, and if they do, you know, you want to have them have super small hand size, because they've continued the counter out to keep under 6. And so Gerpel Dofi, it's winnable. I would say it's about 50-50, because we can ace and make their Luffy blockers lose their value, along with being able to Fire Fist Udas. So you could go on a 10 Dawn turn. You could play ace and then Fire Fist Uda and a Luffy, or even 2 Luffy's, because they'll be 4,000, 4,000. Flame Emperor can put them at 0, and make unblockable Luffy put in work since they lay down a bunch of blockers. So a giant Flame Emperor possibly comboed with events if they only have 2 Dawn up. And that they don't have any blockers, so things like that, or if they swung with them and left 1 Luffy standing. So huge opportunity there. I think it's 50-50, but yeah, the ace makes it lose all the value, and they don't really have removal, which is great for us. And then red green Law starts to show up too, with Seaquake and Fire Fist. We have a solid matchup. Law has been adopting the play nothing first for their few turns, and they just spam it all at once, and really just want to put them at 0 with Flame Emperor and try to seal it in with the unblockable Luffy. Unblockable Luffy is great. Like, you can do it without it because you can pop all their little blockers, but it's just always nice. Like, once they're at 0, they can kind of be pretty low, or just an 11, they pretty much have to give up their whole hand to save it, but they do have, like, a number of 2Ks and whatnot, and you usually have a good idea of what they have in hand based off their shambles, so do try to be cognizant and aware of that. I went 3-1 at locals yesterday with this build shown here, and we will talk about my approach and cards and how set 4 will shape the deck, what cards can make him compete, and what feels missing. So the biggest thing is we don't have any sticky blockers, so there's no great way to save him. So the biggest thing that I did was I'm playing 3 guard point and then 1 radical beam. We play Otama standard, amazing. You use this in combination with removal or just a 2K. I'm playing 2 Shanks, 1 Newgate. I pretty much play these because of Queen. It's hard. They have to have the red rock. Same with Croc. Like, he cannot get hit with a Mihawk. Every other card in your deck can get hit with Mihawk. I like Shanks because he gets value the turn he's played regardless, so I'm connecting for that. And then if you have to play Red Rock versus Queen, they can't play a big drop, and then ideally they won't be able to regenerate life either. You put them in that position because then they can play like 1 card max, so there's potential for value here. I still have the 1 of Newgate. I was just playing 3 Shanks just because, again, with all the blue, you want to have that value. And then with, like, Rebecca, you can potentially play like a 9. The big thing to be aware of is Orlumbus, obviously, since these are 9 drops, can drop him to 5, and then boom, he's just 3,000 worlds. So again, if we're using them, we want to be able to get that value, which is why we're choosing Shanks, but being at 7 is also just really good. And then, of course, against, like, Law and things like that, being able to swing and remove is amazing. Ace, I feel like you could play 4. But he's easily removed. I don't play Ace as much with all the blue matchups. The biggest thing, I think, is like the blocker. I mean, my blockers get so little value. There are matchups where they matter, and if you play against like green and things like that, like these are going to matter. But with like blue and red and yellow's just going to stuff it into your life. Blue's just going to bottom deck it, and then you're just not, by the time you get it back, it's going to have no value. And so I've been very just like iffy. I mean, they still matter though. Like, he's still a swinger and he can't just be popped. But I've been playing just essentially like utilizing the best cards. As you can see, I play 4 Flame Emperor. I maxed this out because so many matchups I want to see at least 2. And then of course we're playing the Ezo, and I'm still only playing 3 Buggy. I could see if I cut out the blockers, I could play more. I also could see the argument to remove these and play Striker, just to use those, especially in the later game, to be able to like search for that. Because the removal is so important now more than ever, because so many are playing giant characters that do a lot, like the Luffy. Like, on the turn that Rebecca plays Luffy, you need a Flame Emperor to out it, or you need to put them at 0 so that way on the turn that they play Luffy, they just lose. So it's huge. Flame Emperor is just an absolute must. Definitely have to have 4. I don't see any argument for anything less. I did play 1 Jet Pistol as well on the topic of removal. It came up. It's pretty good to just remove Sabo. So if they have 1 Sabo, I used it to clear Rebecca's board at one point. I did a Crossfire, Fire Fist, and a Jet Pistol to clear their board and set myself up to win the next turn. I ended up winning that turn because I did a big swing because they had 6 cards in hand and I wanted them to have less because, again, Rebecca would just put them back at 6 if they blocked it, but they ended up just losing because they only had 8. So never be afraid to swing big. And then I did play Bad Manners Kid Course. I played one of these just so I could protect my big characters. So if I played Shanks, they have a 9K, and I swing Shanks, I like to try to play Shanks on 10 so that way I can have like a guard point or something. But just so that way, in case they try to out my big guy, that I can save them, because I do play a lot of heavy events. Again, like Striker could be huge. There was an instance where I was wanting to be able to like Striker search because I just needed one card to subtract. I want to play 3 Crossfire. I actually just couldn't find a Crossfire, so I replaced it with one of these as a one of, because subtraction is so big. I could even see an argument for playing Gordon. Just because those numbers matter so much more now than ever. Because if I can Gordon something and then make it jet pistolable, but I could see 2 Fire Fist has still been so good, but I could see 2 Fire Fist, 2 jet pistol. Also, I could see 3 Luffy. I really want to play 3 Luffy. I've been testing a build playing 3 Luffy. I think it's just right. I could see you playing 4 of this just because now. Again, now more than ever, because Rebecca has a bunch of small blockers. Katakuri has all these blockers out of life now. They've got Branch, and now they've got Sanji. I also, I still like the Seaquake. I still think it's relevant because Zoro is still going to be there. And then you have Whitebeard with their choppers, and it's free removal. Or even like the Fosa. Plus, when you play Ace, it gets rid of a 6K. It does get rid of the 5/7s, so it isn't as valuable. But if there was flex space, I would say it's probably, as far as this build goes, if you're looking for something else, I would say Seaquake, Ace, and Seaquake, these guys, possibly Fosa. Again, there are matchups where it matters, but he's just so easily removed. If they're going to go for it, at the point where they just remove this, it doesn't provide you a ton of value. So I could see those. Feel free to mess around. But yeah, I think it's doable. The biggest problem is Katakuri, and I'm not sure how we solve that. But we'll figure it out. Also, just one last cool combination is if you've already established a Shanks and they have blockers, and next turn you play Ace, you could minus the blockers and then swing with Shanks, and those blockers can't stop him. Same with Crossfire. You can Crossfire like a Sanji and put him at 1K, and then boom, Shanks is going through and he can't block it. So definitely something to think about. If you guys have been playing Ace, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you found this content of value, if you could just do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a ton. And thank you all so much for watching.